Hi friends, and welcome back to AmandaMuse. Obviously, by the header of this video, it's 16 things you might not know about me. Now, chances are, if you've been a longtime viewer, you probably know a lot about me. Some of them might be kind of weird, okay? So just deal with it, and hopefully you still like me when this is over. If you're new, I would love it if you would consider subscribing. I put out videos twice a week, Wednesdays and Sundays, and I also host a live Facebook show, which you can catch on Tuesdays at 2. And seriously, you're not gonna wanna miss this week's episode because do you guys know Elle from the Linguists? She's incredible, she's a friend of mine, and I can't wait to have her on the show. And we're gonna be talking all about fitness and self-care and essential oils. Super stoked. And I'm most likely going to be going live tomorrow night, which is Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Haven't quite decided what we're going to talk about. We're just going to go with the flow, okay? The first one is that when I'm doing dishes, which I do hand wash some things like pots and pans and the blender and this and that, I honest to God always use more dish soap than I need. Don't know what that's about. I just love squishing that bottle. I don't know why. Like, it's wasteful. I don't waste many things, but dish soap, it's like a free-for-all. I just really want those dishes clean, apparently. I don't even know. The next thing is that you guys know I prefer savory foods to sweet. That's a given. However, I do love the occasional chocolate bar, but the weird thing is I cannot eat like the full chocolate bar in one sitting. I don't know why. It's like a thing in my brain that I want to save some for later. It being winter-ish right now, we just had a crazy snowstorm in Southern Ontario, but spring is coming, thank God, because I get the serious chill in the evening. Like, I legitimately am freezing to death. I often have to have a bath or a hot shower, like hot, like to the point where my husband thinks I have issues with temperature because he's like, how can any human being withstand this temperature of water? But I love it so much, and it helps me sleep if I'm warm. And I also have to wear flannel pajamas. This was like a 2-for-1, but I legitimately get really, really cold in the evenings, and it's compounded if I'm tired, which I think is fairly common. But back to the food situation, another thing most people don't know is that I don't like to eat yogurt. I think it's gross. I think the texture is disgusting. And if I do have to eat it, like if I'm really hungry or something and I'm at some continental breakfast, you know those little containers? I have to eat it with a teaspoon, and it takes me like 10 minutes to eat this yogurt. It's just, like, I know it's good for you, it's just really gross. I may have mentioned this in a vlog, but I have a serious fear of mice and rats and gerbils, and I don't even like to talk about it because it's so disgusting. Like, I can't even deal. In fact, Esme likes to torment me and tell me that she's gonna bring home a hamster, at which point I have to remind her that honestly, babe, it's gonna be me or the hamster. Like, you're not gonna have both in the same house, and one of us has to move out. So this next one's a little bit sad, but when I was a kid and when my parents divorced, I was 7 years old. That divorce, to be honest, was very amicable. I mean, nothing like the horror stories you sometimes hear. Maybe not so bad anymore. Back in the day, it was pretty rough, right, when people got divorced. But I had such a hard time dealing with my emotions that I just couldn't eat. And I think it got to be kind of serious, where my parents were a little worried, like, when is this kid going to eat? I was only 7 years old, and I've always been kind of a tall, lean kid, so I think that was probably another worry. And also, I missed school something like 1 day a week for a really long time. Like, I just had the worst stomach pains. But the interesting thing, coming back to the whole smoothie situation, is that my dad found a way to get me to eat, which is he would make this thing called Daddy's Mush, and he put all this fruit in a blender and basically made me applesauce, kind of, with all this different fruit. And I would eat it like a big old cereal bowl of it. Dad was like the first smoothie bowl maker, what do you know? Had he only, marketed that. But anyway, I suppose this next one plays off of that last one, but I still to this day worry a lot. I can worry myself into a frenzy, which I don't know if that ever comes across in my vlogs. I get this sense that people think I'm really zen and I'm really chill, which a lot of times I am. There's a lot of stuff that I'm laid back about. However, I think I've mentioned when I go to do something new that I've never done before, I pretty much freak out and can't quite deal with all of the emotions, the fear, all of that crap. And I definitely have a little bit of anxiety around that. Well, I still don't let it stop me from doing anything. Like, when I go on those live television shows, like about 1 second before we go live, I'm pretty sure I stop breathing and I'm like, and I'm gonna die, like right now. But I don't, and I manage to carry on through it. It's just, it's one of those things where I constantly face my fears, but sometimes I think I fear and worry about a little too much. So something I'm working on, Another thing a lot of people wouldn't know about me, unless maybe you ate with me on a regular basis, but I don't really enjoy bread with anything other than margarine or butter. And it's gotta be like smooth, it's gotta be spreadable, no chunky butter, that's weird. But like jam, peanut butter, Cheese Whiz, cream cheese, whatever, honey, if I'm gonna put it on bread, it's gotta be toast. Like I need that melting effect. And if it is peanut butter or jam or cream cheese even, I like a little bit of butter underneath. I love that savory combination, especially the savory with the sweet, like the peanut butter and a little bit of margarine. So anyone else with me on that? So this one I'm a little bit embarrassed to even say out loud, but screw it. What's the worst thing that could happen from putting it on the internet? God. So, because I worry a lot and because my brain is always in overdrive and because I work late into the night, I often have a lot of trouble just falling asleep. Like, unless I'm dead tired, I just lay there and I like stare into space. And so I just need to zone out. I need to meditate, and people close to me know that I do this, but I legitimately have to watch ASMR videos before I fall asleep. So if you don't know what ASMR is, it's essentially, you know that feeling that some people get, not everybody gets, where if you're watching somebody do something or somebody's talking to you very gently, or I don't know, there's a lot of different triggers, you get this feeling in the back of your neck that's like tingles basically. So there's people on YouTube, and it's this really niche, bizarre piece of YouTube, so don't judge me if you go watch them, but they basically do these things that help people fall asleep. It's very like, you have to listen with headphones and it's very chill, but if you don't experience those tingles, you basically think it's the weirdest thing ever. But I do, and I love it, and I don't even care. It helps me sleep. It's almost like I'm meditating. It literally puts me into a trance and I'm out. So if you ever listen to a meditation, you have to wear headphones and it's very soothing audio. That's what it feels like to me. I will give you this disclaimer though. There are a lot of weird stuff, like anything in the world. There's a lot of people that take something good and spin it to be something bad. This thing, ASMR, is not porn related, although there's some people that do weird stuff. You know, I'm not into that. I just like the ladies who just talk gently to you, preferably with an accent, and it helps me sleep, so yeah, that might weird a few people out. C'est la vie. I am a little bit of a weird person. So here's a weird one. With both of my children, which I have co-slept and still am co-sleeping, but anyway, so when they were brand spanking new, Esme always slept on the right side of my body, and her primary breast for nursing was the right breast, which is fine, probably because it was proximity. But oddly enough, when Jack was born, he slept on my left side and primarily nursed off the left breast. So I always, like with Jack, this boob was always bigger, and with Esme, this boob was always bigger. So it's kind of weird how that worked out, that they each had a preferred side. So, random fun fact, probably wouldn't know that about me, let's be real. Also concerning motherhood and bodies and all those things, my postpartum body was a lot to handle. Like I really didn't cope with all the physical changes, specifically my scar, because I ended up having 2 C-sections. The first was unplanned and the second was planned, so I kind of knew what to expect. But that was a lot to cope with, and I still don't feel totally comfortable around my scar area. I don't like to touch it. I don't like to deal with it too much. I still think I probably have some unresolved issues around that. I mean, we all got some problems, but it's hard for me to take. I think too, because right postpartum, I still had all the baby weight on, but the baby was on the outside, and I was like, who is this woman? So, which, to be honest, stemmed a lot of AmandaMuse. Like that's kind of where this whole channel was created from, because I wanted to offer that support and just be that person you could talk to, or just, you know, there is light at the end of the tunnel. But it was something I really, really struggled with. One random thing, and it hasn't happened in a lot of years, but I have had a seizure. So unrelated to epilepsy or anything like that, but I have one of these bodies, these physical makeups, where if I'm in the right situation where it's like low blood sugar, you know, tired, maybe I'm sick, maybe feeling stressed in a new situation, all of those things, my body kind of freaks out and the wiring goes a bit off and I can have a seizure, which is a little concerning to people around me. And I've had them in the past, but I will say that was like, I think the first one I had was 10 years ago, but since then I have managed to feel like I can sense when it's coming on, or again, if that right dynamic is like not being well fed or slept or stressed or whatever, I can kind of sense it, and I tend not to put myself in situations where it might happen, but it has happened and it's a little bit scary when it does. That said, it hasn't happened in a long, long time, so thankfully. So I would certainly consider myself a girly girl. I like getting my nails done, I like doing my hair, I like wearing makeup, I like all the things, That said though, I have potty mouth, I love beer, and one of my favorite things to talk about is sex. I think lately there's a lot of talk about gender and like gender roles and all that kind of stuff. And I've always joked that I must have been a dude in my past life because I'm just very comfortable with all of that stuff, even though I love all the girly girl things. So I think you can be both, you know? So, weird one, right before I found out I was pregnant with Esme, I had this huge cry session in the bathroom in Malaysia, which is where we were living at the time. And it was about my dog, which was odd because my dog was living with my in-laws. My in-laws were visiting. It was very confusing, and it made no sense why I was having such a cry. Like it didn't. There's no reason for it. So that was odd. And then the next day I realized that was odd to have like a 10-minute hysterically crying session over a dog. Turns out I was pregnant. With the next one with Jax, long story short, I had a car situation where again, I was in Malaysia, so super hot, and the air conditioning went out, and so got really hot and I needed to run into Subway to get a drink or something, and when I came out, my car was gone, at which point I started crying. And then I couldn't stop crying. And then I went into this little tourist place where I thought, I'll just make a phone call, get some air conditioning, I'll be good. Still couldn't stop crying. The sweet little Malay lady sat me down, and when I did compose myself, which was like 5 very long minutes later, I thought, what was that about? And then I still couldn't stop crying because I'd already started that gravy train of like tears. Anyways, when I got home that day, I was like, that was weird. The next day, lo and behold. So, a little bit of a fun fact, kind of a weird one. So if I ever cry, I always get a little worried, but we're good. Got 2 more left, guys. You can handle it. 2 more. So as you guys know, and if you're new, well, now you know, but I have moved a lot in my life. Like, I'm from Montreal, the suburbs, the West Island, and then I moved to Toronto when I was 19, and then I moved to Vancouver, BC, which is like other side of Canada, and then I moved to Malaysia with my husband, and now we're back in Ontario. So it's been an interesting ride, but I suppose what always surprises me is, and I guess makes me sad, is that relationships are based on proximity, and for a lot of people, not for everybody, but for a lot of people, if you're out of sight, you're out of mind. And there's a lovely saying in French, loin des yeux, loin du cœur, which means far from the eyes, far from the heart. And it's true for a lot of people. And it makes me sad that I've had certain friendships, but also family relationships that have fizzled as a result of me choosing to live elsewhere. And I really struggle with that because you'll see when I get to my last point, but I don't understand not wanting to keep in touch with somebody simply because they live elsewhere, especially because I am immersed in this digital world where you can Snapchat, FaceTime, Skype. I mean, I don't even know anybody that Skypes anymore, but you know, Messenger on Facebook, the whole thing. Like, there's so many ways to keep in touch. Quick text messages here and there, that I don't get it. Now, I totally do appreciate that certain friendships I feel like have a time and place in your life. And especially when you're a mother and it's like super busy, so I get that. But I suppose the family ones hurt the most because you think like, I didn't move to hurt anybody, like I moved to benefit my life. And I don't understand why people can't be excited for you, but yet still keep in touch. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of a weird one that's probably a bit deep for 16 facts, because it's certainly something you could talk about a lot, but that one always surprises me. So, a little bit of a sad one. So there's a word called compersion, and a lot of times it's used in a bit of a sexual format, but I'm not referring to that. I'm referring to the opposite of jealousy. So I genuinely feel excited, and just like I get so excited for people, especially friends of mine, family, who get to accomplish or achieve some sort of success that they've always wanted. Like whether it be somebody getting married or somebody getting like an awesome job or a book deal or I don't know what, I genuinely feel so excited. I think it's normal that people get jealous, and there's certainly that element of like, oh, I kind of wish that was me. But that is such a small fraction when you compare to the joy that I genuinely feel for other people. Like I just love when people accomplish what they want or feel success. I think it's pretty awesome. So there you go. 16 things you probably didn't know about me. Some of them are probably kind of normal. Some of them are completely not normal. So I would love to know in the comments which one surprised you the most. It's always kind of weird when you open the door to like, hey, I'm crazy too. So fun times. Anyways, I'll wrap it up here. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. I told you why. I'm all over the place. Live shows happening everywhere. So stick around. I will see you on Wednesday with the next weekly vlog, which you're going to want to watch it because it's like all about March break and all that went down. So it's going to be good. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.